Yeah, yeah.
So here, so the traffic steering policies and then SLA monitoring. Now, for example, okay, so I have the multiple WAN circuits. Okay, so this is my WAN 1, this is my WAN 2, this is my WAN 3, and then WAN 4. You got so four WAN circuits. Okay, right. So I have created so the SLA profile stating that okay, my requirement is latency so 10 to 100 milliseconds. So the jitter values is 50 milliseconds. Okay. So this I have mentioned as a part of SLA profile. This is my requirement. Now at that moment, what is the health of the WAN circuits? So it is telling that latency is 50 milliseconds. So the jitter value is 10 milliseconds. The packet loss is 5% is packet loss. WAN 2 circuit, so now it is having 100 milliseconds. So the jitter value is so 100 milliseconds, packet loss is 10%. At that moment, WAN 3, assume that this is 100 milliseconds latency. So the 10 milliseconds and then so 10% packet loss. WAN 4, assume, so this is 70 milliseconds, so then 100 milliseconds jitter value, and then 5% ratio, packet loss. Right. So these are the SLA metrics at that moment. Okay, at that moment, these are the SLA metrics. Now, within this SLA profile, what if I configured my target is I'll select the WAN circuits if I have the latency 100 milliseconds and the jitter value is 50 milliseconds. Okay, so it tries to verify both the informations. It is like an AND class. It's not like an OR class. If I try to select the multiple match conditions in SLA profile, what is going to happen? It is going to be like an AND class. It tries to match with both the latency as well as the jitter information. Latency is 100 milliseconds plus jitter value is 50 milliseconds. Now we are requiring that. So what all the WAN interfaces are meeting the SLA profile. Now which WAN interfaces will be considered for our requirement? Okay, for our requirement, the latency should be less than or equal to 100 milliseconds. All these WAN circuits are meeting the latencies. Yes, all the WAN circuits are having a latency less than 100 milliseconds. What about the jitter information? So the jitter information is 50 milliseconds or less than 50 milliseconds. Now, if I look at these interfaces, so it is having a 10 milliseconds, this is having 100 milliseconds, this is having a 10 milliseconds, and this is having 100 milliseconds. Now, these two WAN circuits are not meeting our criteria. These two WAN circuits are not meeting our criteria. Now, within our SLA profile, we did not even mention the packet loss information. So we did not mention the packet loss information. Now, based on this, what is going to happen? So only the WAN circuits which are meeting the latency and as well as meeting the jitter values will be selected. Right. In this example output, which interfaces will be selected? WAN 1.
Basically, so that is AND, is it? So this the profile is AND.
The profile is?
So latency plus jitter should
Yes,
match.
it is AND. If I try to mention the multiple match conditions, it is going to be AND class.
All should be matched.
Yes, all should be matched. Okay. So latency plus jitter we are trying to mention. So now we have selected the WAN 1 and then WAN 3 based upon our SLA profile. So we got a WAN 1 and then WAN 3.
So WAN 1 and WAN 3 will only utilize for this particular traffic.
Yes, yes. But how do you want to forward the traffic? How do you want to forward the traffic? Now you got WAN 1 and WAN 3. How do you use this WAN circuits? Will it use WAN 1 or will it use WAN 3? Will it does the load balancing? What kind of load balancing it happens? That and all will be decided with help of the forwarding profile. Okay, that and all will be decided for the forwarding profile. SLA profile will just mention that whether these WAN circuits are meeting our criteria or not. But how exactly these WAN circuits will forward the traffic will be decided with help of the forwarding profile. Okay. Now let's try to understand the forwarding profile concept. What all the options we have it in the forwarding profile. Okay. Right. So coming to this forwarding profile. Okay. So just a minute. So if I go with this forwarding profile configuration. Right. I'm selecting the forwarding profile. So by going to the configuration, so there's G1 forwarding profile. we are trying to select the forwarding profile configuration. Right. What all the options we have it in the forwarding profile? So we are going to mention a name to the forwarding profile. So we'll try to select some of the options under the general category. Okay, what all the options we are going to select? The first one is, what is the connection selection method? So there is a two options. One is weighted round robin. The next one is high available bandwidth. Okay, so high bandwidth, which is available. How do you select? So these interfaces at that moment, whichever the link that is having high bandwidth, do you want to use that? You can select that high bandwidth. Or so you wanted to do the weighted round robin load balancing. Okay, you can select that WRR.
High bandwidth means suppose I have a two link, one is a 10 MB and one is a 5 MB link. So utilization of the link or
Utilization. So for example, there's a 10 MB and there is a 5 MB. Okay, here the 10 MB link is occupied by 8 MB. The remaining bandwidth is only 2 MB here. Here only 1 MB is occupied. The remaining bandwidth is 4 MB. So both this remaining bandwidth will be used in order to select the weighted round robin or in order to select the high available bandwidth.
Okay.
So this connection selection method will be applicable on the remaining bandwidth of the interfaces. Right? So now these two are interlinked. Now, if I'm selecting the load balancing, what kind of load balancing? So do you want to go with the per packet load balancing or per flow load balancing? So you are going to select that criteria here, per packet or per flow load balancing. Okay. Now, so how did we select the WAN circuits? What all the WAN circuits we have it? How did we select it? That is with the help of matching this SLA profile. That is with the help of this SLA profile. Okay. Right. So now coming to this, so there are some options. We'll talk about that replication little later. Okay. So this recompute timer and then evaluate continuously. Okay. So what is going to happen? So if I mention that evaluate continuously. Okay. So the moment WAN links are, okay. So the moment WAN links are out of the compliances, like let's say WAN 1, WAN 3, or in our example, in our previous example, we got WAN 1 and then WAN 3. Now, recompute timer. What is this recompute timer? For every 5 minutes, the device will try to verify whether the interface is falling under the compliance or not. So for every 5 minutes, so it starts verifying it. Now assume after 5 minutes, even WAN 2 is meeting our criteria. WAN 2 also meeting our criteria. Now, do you want to change the existing sessions to the newly added WAN circuit or not? Okay. Whatever the traffic that is going on WAN 1 and WAN 3, so even the traffic has to be shifted to the WAN 2 immediately. The moment the link has been added to the SLA, so you wanted to use this link immediately, then you can enable this evaluate continuously. When it comes to the recompute timer,
that means like say if an issue happens on the second, if the issue starts, say it goes and checks this second, okay, then it goes on the next 5th minute, correct?
Exactly.
In between time, if there is if this WAN 1 and WAN 3 goes beyond the configure threshold, they are not going to be moved away from.
It's the recompute timer is nothing but for every 5 minutes it tries to verify whether the WAN circuits are meeting the SLA or not.
So that means in between time, if it goes bad and then comes back good before this goes and checks again, that means no action will be taken at that time, right?
Yes. So it does not take any action, Vignesh. So it waits for 5 minutes and takes the action.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So now, so these two are like interchangeable. So the evaluate continuously and then recompute timers. Right. So now coming to the one of the option here, what if I don't have any interfaces which are meeting the SLAs? Okay. So there is not even a single interface, so which is meeting the SLA. What do you wanted to do it? So do you want to still forward the traffic? Yes. So you can make use of this SLA violation action forward. What it does, so it is going to select all the WAN circuit. Okay. All the WAN circuit in order to perform the load. Okay.
So you meant to say if we have a two link and both are not meeting the criteria, at that time this will use.
Yes, then only it will be used. If I have at least one WAN transports which is meeting the SLA, So this is not going to be used.
Yes, yes, okay.
So if none of the WAN transports are meeting the SLA, then all the WAN transports will be considered as equal priority.
Okay.
And so they will be doing the load balancing again. Okay, right. So this is about the SLA violation action.
What is the other option is that? One is a forwarding and other is?
Reject, drop.
Okay, reject. Okay.
Okay, so either you wanted to forward it or you wanted to drop it. Okay. Right. So now, so did we talk about that? So the enable symmetric forwarding. Okay. So what is the default behavior of Versa appliances? So you may use MPLS for forward traffic, and you may receive the internet for reverse traffic. MPLS as a forward traffic and internet as a reverse traffic. Okay. So by default, the asymmetric forwarding is enabled. Okay, so if you don't want the traffic to use the two different WAN circuits, okay, so maybe, so I don't want to rely on these asymmetric, so I don't want to rely on the remote devices. Whatever the best circuit I have it, I wanted to always use that best circuit. Then I can think about enabling the symmetric forward. Okay, so these are some options under the general tab. Now coming to the other ones, so which is nothing but the circuit priorities. Okay, circuit priorities. Now, WAN 1, WAN 2, WAN 3, WAN 4. I mentioned the priorities like let's say WAN 1, WAN 2 as a priority 1, WAN 3 as a priority 2, WAN 4 as a priority 3. Okay, lower the number that WAN circuits will be considered first. So then the number follows. Okay, so you can mention the WAN circuits priorities. Okay, under this, so you can go to the circuit priorities. So you can click on adding the circuit priorities. You can mention with the circuit names, you can mention with the circuit types, and then circuit media as well. So here I can mention what is my local, so the circuit names. So if I mention MPLS or if I mention internet, I'll try to select that circuit names and I'll try to mention the priorities. Okay. So what is going to happen? So in the priorities, so lesser the number, that value will be used. Okay, so lesser the number, that value is going to be used. What happens? So if I try to select both the WAN circuits with the same priority, again, there is a chance of having a load balancing between these two links. Until and unless both the links are falling out of the compliance or out of the SLA, until and unless both the WAN circuits are falling out of the SLA, then only the next WAN circuits will be used. Okay, it's not that interface should go down. It is the SLA has to get violated. Okay, if and only if the SLA is getting violated, then immediately it starts using the other WAN circuit as well. Okay, so this you can make use of this circuit priorities. If you wanted to have the primary and secondary kind of implementation for all my traffic, I want to use MPLS as a primary. So for all my internet traffic, I wanted to use internet as a primary. Then what I can do, I can create two rules. One rule says that all my business critical traffic uses MPLS as a primary, internet as a secondary. I'll create a forwarding profile 1 mentioning that MPLS has a priority 1, internet as a priority 2. I'll create a forwarding profile 2. Here I'll try to mention, okay, MPLS as a 2 priority, internet as a 1 priority. So the business critical traffic, I'll match with the forwarding profile 1. So non-business critical traffic, I'll match with the forwarding profile 2. So coming to the next option, which is nothing but the avoid connections. Okay, you don't want to use a WAN interface at all for this traffic. Okay, so for example, so there is a 4 WAN transports. Okay, WAN 1, WAN 2, WAN 3, WAN 4. There are 4 WAN transports. Forever, I don't want to use, so for all my internet traffic, like let's say for all my internet traffic, I never wanted to use the WAN 3 circuit. I never wanted to use the WAN 3 circuit. What I can do is, I can go to the avoid connections, I can select the circuit names, and I can mention that avoid WAN 3. Okay. So this is nothing but the avoid WAN connections will be prioritized over the circuit priorities. Okay. Right. Then comes the load balancing algorithms. First, always it verifies, are we going to avoid some connections? So it will verify that. If no, then it verifies the circuit priorities. If multiple WAN circuits are having the equal priorities, then only it starts making use of this load balancing algorithms. Right. So coming to the FEC and then packet replication. So what is this FEC and then packet replication? Now assume that, okay, so here, so you got MPLS circuit, you got internet circuit. So now, so we have a control VR. Okay, so there is some traffic between these devices. Okay, I have MPLS, I have internet. Okay, so this is my control VR. Okay, so with the help of these tunnels, the traffic is forwarded. Right, the first, let us understand about the replication factor. So what is this replication factor? Now assume that I have received 5 packets. Okay, so on the LAN VR, I have received 5 packets. So these 5 packets are going to be forwarded with help of any of the transports, either MPLS transport or the internet transport. Now, what is the ideal behavior? So it will use either of these two WAN circuit. Assume that. So it is using MPLS as a WAN circuit. Okay, it is trying to forward with a MPLS circuit. Now, what happens? So when your internet links, sorry, when your WAN circuits are congestion, or when your WAN circuits are not meeting the SLAs. Okay, so when your WAN interfaces are unstable, because of that, you may not meet the SLAs. Okay, during that situation, there is a chance that the packet may get dropped. Okay, so there is a chance that the packets may get dropped during the congestion or during the link which is unstable, or during the transit time. Okay, so there is a chance that the packets may get dropped. Okay, at that moment, what I can do is I can go ahead and I can apply this replication factor. Now, what if I applied the replication factor as a 2? I applied the replication factor as a 2. Okay, so it has the 2 WAN transports. What it does, whatever the packets it has received, it tries to send the duplicate of these packets on the other WAN circuits as well. The first WAN circuit, assume it is carrying the normal traffic. Then we mentioned the replication factor as a 2, 1 plus 1. So 1 is the original traffic. The next one is duplicate traffic. Instead of sending 5 packets, now as we are using 2 WAN circuits, what is going to happen? It tries to send the 10 packets. It tries to send the 10 packets. One is via 5 packets via MPLS, 5 packets via internet. Now at the receiver side, he is going to receive, instead of 5 packets, he is going to receive the 10 packets. Now what does these packets contain? All the packets are the duplicate packets. For all these 5 packets, these packets are the duplicate packets. Now both the packets are going to contain the same sequence number. So due to that, what is going to happen? The packets whichever hits this appliance first, maybe via MPLS or maybe via internet first. So the packets whichever hit this appliance first, it will try to verify the sequence number and starts forwarding the traffic towards the destination. Now again, assume that this is a packet 1. So this packet 1, what if packet 1 is received on MPLS and later on it has received on internet? Already the packet 1 which is received on MPLS is processed and forwarded to the destination. What will happen to the packet 1 that is received over the internet? The sequence number is already verified. Okay, so the sequence number tells that the packet is already processed. So due to that, this packet gets discarded at this branch. Okay, the replication factor. So if I try to mention the replication, what is going to happen? The packets are getting duplicated and will be sent across the WAN transport. Okay, when are we going to use this replication? So when your links are unstable, or so during the time of congestion, you're not sure that the packets may be reached to the destination or not, then we can enable this replication factor. Okay, you can.
But it utilizes more bandwidth, right?
Of course. What is going to happen? So you have an option when to start the replication and when to stop the replication. You have an option. So if none of the WAN interfaces are meeting the SLA, then we'll start doing this replication factor. So then when to stop it, if any of the WAN transports are reaching to the certain bandwidth utilization, then we'll start the, so then we are going to stop this replication. Of course, so it is going to use the bandwidth. If, for example, if 1 MB traffic is sent across these WAN transports, now if the replication is factor is 2, so it is going to be the 2 MB traffic. Yes. So that's the reason we have an option when to start it and when to stop it. If I go to this replication, so you can mention enable. The replication factor I can mention. So based upon number of WAN circuits you wanted to use it, you'll try to mention that replication factor. When to start, so when the SLA is violated or always, you can select that options. And then, so when to stop it? If any of the WAN circuit utilization reaches to some percentage, I can stop this replication. So this will be, replication will be used. So if I have the multiple WAN transports in order to forward the traffic. If I have the multiple WAN transports, if not one transport, I'm going to replicate the packets to the other transport. I'm going to forward the traffic. But what happens in case of FEC? Okay, forward error correction. What happens in case of FEC? Forward error correction. So irrespective of the WAN transport, FEC is always applied. Okay, now what is going to happen here? So assume, so I'm having MPLS link and I have an internet link. Okay, so I'm sending over the MPLS and I'm sending over the internet. Okay, so this is my MPLS link and so this is my internet link. Okay, so what is going to happen? So this is a tunnel between the branches. So this is my CP01 and then CP02. Okay, between these two tunnels, so there's a connections which are going to be used via this WAN transports. Okay, so this WAN transports will be used in order to have a communication from CP01 to CP02. Now, what is going to happen in case of FEC? Okay, so there is a FEC algorithm, okay, forward error correction algorithm, which is running on these devices. Okay, so even on these Versa appliances, so FEC algorithm, so is going to run on these devices. Assume, okay, so we are trying to send some 4 packets. Okay, we mentioned that FEC should start with a, so for every 4 packets, so we need to start the FEC. What will happen? So the traffic is going via the transports while it is selecting the, assume if it is selecting MPLS in order to forward the traffic. Okay, so we'll try to send the 4 packets. Along with the 4 packets, we are going to send one more packet, which is nothing but the parity packet. So what is going to happen? So with the help of this parity packet, assume, so during the transit, what if I have received only the packet 1, 2, 4, but not the 3 packet. I have received packet 1, packet 2, and then packet 4. So in between the transit, packet 3 is lost. And along with that, we have received the parity packet as well. Okay, parity packet as well. What is going to happen at the receiver side? The receiver side, with help of this parity packet, okay, it is able to regenerate the packet which is missing during this transit. As the sender encoded everything on this parity packet, even any of the packet that gets lost, either packet 1, packet 2, packet 3, packet 4, any of this packet gets lost. So these packets can be regenerated with help of this parity packet. The receiver, as it receives the parity packet, what it tries to do? So it is going to use this parity packet and it will start generating the 3rd packet. Okay, so it starts generating this 3rd packet. So we have an option actually. So again, so when to start FEC, okay, how many packets it should be used so that you can send the parity packet. Okay, so you can make use of this. So the FEC parity packet size as well. Okay, when to start, when to stop, you can enable this FEC. The replication factor, replication is different parameter and then FEC is different parameter. Replication is nothing but it tries to send the duplication of the traffic. When it comes to the FEC, what it does, so it is going to send any of the transport it is going through, it will add the parity packet that is sent on the transit. Okay, by combining these two, okay, so the replication and then FEC, so we are going to have the utmost the reliability in order to forward the traffic. Okay. So we have an option when to start and when to stop it. So if I look at the FEC here, so you can enable it. Okay, so you can mention that, so the number of packets that should be used, so that it starts sending for every 4 packets, it starts sending a parity packet. Okay, so when to start this FEC? When all the WAN links are not meeting the SLA, so then only you wanted to start it. So you can mention that. So when to start? So if all the WAN circuits are not meeting the SLA, then start. When to stop it? So if any of the WAN circuits are crossing this circuit utilization, then you can stop. Right. This is about the forward profile, all the configurations, so the general settings, so the circuit priorities, avoid connections, so then the FEC. when it comes to the advanced settings, so these are all the options what we can do is, okay, so now the gradual migration. So you can enable this gradual migration. What does this gradual migration do? So instead of at once, so changing the all the new connected sessions to the new transport, okay, so it will try to slowly move the new sessions to the backup path. Okay, so the gradual migration. Okay, when it comes to the SLA smoothing, so this is what Vignesh you were asking about. So the SLA smoothing. So it will try to use the historical SLA compliances metrics over the time. Okay, so for example, here I mentioned that 30 minutes. Okay, so assume 800 seconds, 1800 seconds, I mentioned it. So the recompute timer is going to happen for every 5 minutes. It uses these values, the historical information, and it tries to decide whether that interface has to be again put back to the forwarding the traffic or not. You can mention this SLA smoothing for it. Right, so you wanted to keep, so one of the interface, so which is a flapping. Okay, so you wanted to keep an interface for some time on hold. So after the flapping, so you can enable this SLA damping as well. Okay. So these are all the configurable parameters, so which is part of the forwarding profile. So when it comes to the SD-WAN policies, how exactly the SD-WAN policies are created, it contains a name. So what about the source and destination? Source address, I can use it. Destination address, I can use it. Source zone parameters, I can use it. And coming to here, you can mention the site IDs as well. From branch to branch, you wanted to influence the WAN transports. I can make use of the device ID information as well. Source site ID and then destination site ID. You wanted to use it, you can make use of these parameters. Okay. So you wanted to make use of the negate option, source address negate and then destination address negate. You can enable these checkboxes. So coming to the headers, so you can mention the service information. Okay, what is IP protocol and what is the port numbers? So you can mention that service information. And then, so you wanted to make use of the time-based ACL. Okay, so time-based. Okay, so the time-based ACL. So then, so you can think about the schedulers and you can enable that options. Okay, right. So coming to this, so the IP versions. If you wanted to mention the IP versions, you can enable these IP versions as well. Right, so coming to the advantage, so the L7 information, I can use it. So I can go with applications. I can select that list of applications or the URL informations. So if you wanted to go with some user-based information as well, only some privileged users, you wanted to always forward the traffic over the internet or over the MPLS. You wanted to select the, based upon that user information as well. In order to do that, so either you can create a local database or you can integrate with LDAP and you can select that criteria as well. Okay. After providing all these match conditions, so click on that enforce. Under the enforce, what is the action? I can select that action as a allow flow. What is the forwarding profile we are going to use? So we'll try to mention that allow flow and then what is the forwarding profile we are going to use it. So in case if you wanted to generate the logs related to the SD-WAN policies, so we'll select that logging and then so we'll be enabling this LEF profile. So this is about the SD-WAN policies. How do you create it? So this is again, so I just wanted to repeat it.
Can you please let me know a bit more on the user in the group thing? User in the group.
See here, this is our LAN segment, right? Okay, so the devices are part of assumed domain. Okay, so now what I wanted to do, if these two users belong to the IT segment and these two users are belonging to the engineering segment, now I don't want to just rely on only IP addresses or the application information. Instead, I want to use the user information. Okay, or the role of the user. So probably you might be knowing about the user-based firewalling, right? Okay, so user-based firewalling, not only just based upon the IP addresses, ports information, application information, even we can forward the traffic or reject the traffic based upon the end user who is trying to access this machine. Okay. So now in order to do that, what Versa has to do, either it has to go with a local database or it has to be integrated with any of the third-party servers like AD. Okay.
But this can be also achieved with the next generation firewall feature. Right?
Yeah, so you can use that. I mean, Versa is possible to do that user-based firewalling. Okay, so due to that, in the SD-WAN policies as well, you can make use of the user information.
Okay.
This is actually related to some of the customer scenarios where specific customers, users like CIOs, CXOs, they want a preferred access over the others. There we can use this, right, Hari?
Yes, exactly. For example, you have a software development, so there are some teams which are trying to upload the huge bulk of data. What we can do is we can allocate a dedicated link for them. So all the traffic which is coming from these group of users, let's try to use the MPLS or let's try to use the internet. You can make use of it.
Okay.
And,
This can correlate to a particular application. Like certain users, I have.
So if I try to mention all the match condition, so what is going to happen? So it is like an underclass.
Right.
Hari, this all are app aware, right? We don't means only we have to use a category, so accordingly it will identify the traffic.
No, so you can mention the actual application or application category or URL information, URL categories. You can mention it all.
In a category, if I using the voice and video,
all the applications
Okay.
that are falling under this category will be applicable.
yeah, okay.
Hari, how I can select the particular user? How can I identify it?
Yeah, you have to integrate with LDAP, you have to integrate with the local database.
No, forget about the LDAP and for example, customer is directly connected on the firewall. Okay, he's DSCP enable on that, right? MAC is done and IP is allocated. IP may be changed differently, right?
That's what Rizwan. We are not relying on the IP address at all.
Okay.
So the next generation capability is based upon the user information. So if the end system is in the domain, so the end system will try to share that information to the AD, right? We are going to the AD and we are going to verify who is the end user trying to access this machine. Based on this information, we'll try to do the user-based firewalling.
In case that setup is not available, then
Local database. You can create a local database on Versa appliances. So we can trigger a captive portal. Okay, so captive portal page to the end system and ask the credentials for the end user to enter in. Okay, now the end user enters the details. So we are going to get the user information from this end system.
we are getting the MAC, so it, can we configure the MAC basis? Is it possible?
Yeah,
For example,
the portal can be triggered to any end system.
is there any option in the while configuring the IP address and application base, we are modifying?
You wanted to go with the end system operating system as well. Device identification you're talking about.
Device identification, for example, in a particular user having the MAC address such and such, then we want to apply the policy on the MAC base.
L2 based SD-WAN policies you're talking about?
Yes.
No, it's not possible. SD-WAN policies only the criteria L3, so user information applications URLs. L2 based, it's not possible. In the QoS, you can apply with the help of MAC, but not on the.
For another option in this situation, we can bind the static IP, private IP, or for the particular user, and then apply the policy of that particular IP. Modify the policy according to the IP address. Is it? Can we do that?
It's possible with help of IP addresses, right? Okay, so in SD-WAN policies, it's possible with help of IP addresses. But if the DHCP is enabled, Rizwan, IP address, MAC address will be keep on changing until unless you won't manipulate that DHCP bindings, then possible.
We can bind the static binding for the particular user.
That's what, until unless you go ahead and do the static binding, then it is possible.
Okay.
So,
And Hari, how we can apply this template to the device?
Which one?
This template we have created, it's a device template or
It's a device template only, right? Under the configuration template, you have all these options. So we are going to this template and then making the changes.
Okay, it is in device itself. Okay, yeah, sorry.
Right. So you can select either all the static parameters or you can select any of these checkboxes. Okay, so you can create the forwarding profiles based upon a requirement. You can go ahead and you can start assigning all the parameters. Okay. So here in this example, we wanted to take MPLS as a primary, internet as secondary. So we created the priority 1 for MPLS, so the priority 2 for internet. Okay. So then avoid connections. If you wanted to avoid certain connections, you can make use of avoid connections. So if you wanted to enable the FEC, that's possible. And then advanced settings, you wanted to do it. So that's possible on forwarding profiles. So when it comes to the SD-WAN policies, so SD-WAN policies, you are going to create the multiple rules. So based upon our requirement, so we'll go and we'll bind the particular forwarding profile for that. Okay. Right, so the SD-WAN policies as well. So the top to bottom evaluation. So the first come, first serve basis. So if you wanted to, so rearrange the orders, then you can make use of these icons, either move top, move bottom, or move up, move down. But what about the default SLA probings? So here, so this is already, we saw it yesterday. By going to the SD-WAN site, so you'll find the site related information. Here you can click on that edit, and where we can see that under this interface, the SLA monitoring, you could see that the SLA monitoring configuration. There's a default configuration. Under each and every WAN transport, this default configuration will be applicable. Okay, so there's a forwarding class 4, which is nothing but expedite forwarding. So by default, monitor interval is 2, loss threshold is 3. Okay, so the 2 into 3, which is nothing but 6 seconds. So you're going to detect the database failure. Okay, if you wanted to go ahead and you wanted to change it, like let's say you can change the forwarding class, and so you can change the option send to branches or controllers, what is the monitoring interval and what is the loss threshold. So you wanted to do that, that's possible. Then you wanted to go ahead and you wanted to enable the adaptive shaping. So you can click on that adaptive shaping. You have 3 different configurable options. One is inactivity interval, the next one is retries, and then suspend interval. Okay, so this is for adaptive SLA probings. Now by default, what is going to happen? So the adaptive, so the SLA probing, so for the branches and for the controllers, as if you want, you can go ahead and you can enable that options. Okay. So by default, what is going to happen? So it tries to do the, for each and every location, it starts doing the SLA probing. Okay, it starts doing the SLA probing. Now, for example, so there is no active traffic at all. Okay, so there is no active traffic at all between the branches. So where the tunnel is up, but there is no active traffic. Okay, by sending unnecessary probes, okay, so what is going to happen? There is a bandwidth utilization on the WAN circuit. Okay, there is a bandwidth utilization on the WAN circuit. Now, with the help of this adaptive monitoring, what is going to happen? That reduces the probe transmission sites between the sites which are not actively communicating. Okay, so it will try to suppress the bandwidth utilization on the WAN circuits by not sending the probes for the sites which are not actively communicating. So there are the options. So the inactive interval, the suspend interval, and then retries. Okay, so the inactive interval, for how long the neighbor is inactive. Okay, so we'll try to verify after establishing the tunnel, there is no active traffic between the devices. So then it starts suspending the SLA probing. Okay, so till how long the SLA probes should be suspended. So we'll try to mention that suspend interval. So before it tries to resume the SLA probing, so how many packets should be sent? Okay, how many packets should be sent in order to perform this active SLA probing? So that's nothing but the retries. Okay, so if you take a small example here, I'm considering one of the branch. So it has the broadband 1, broadband 2, and then MPLS circuit. Okay, so in order to go to these respective branches, so it has got the, assume that both are having a same transport domain. Okay, so broadband 1 to broadband 1, broadband 1 to broadband 2. So broadband 2 to broadband 1, and then broadband 2 to broadband 2. So there are 4 transports connecting via broadband and 1 transport connecting via MPLS. So total 5 transport paths between the site. Now what will happen? So it starts sending the probes. So it starts sending the probes on each and every WAN transport. Okay, so the 10 probes per site. Okay, so what will happen? So the bidirectional responses. So the 40 packets that are going to be exchanged, so between each site. Okay, so you are going to send the probes and you are going to get the responses. So the 40 packets will be exchanged between the sites. So ultimately, after the calculation, what is going to happen? So for one site, it is consuming 1.5 Mbps just for probing. Okay. So just for probing, if I have the 5 transports, it is going to consume 1.5 Mbps in the probes. Okay. Now, if there is 1,000 sites, so if you wanted to do the probing for 1,000 sites, just 15 Mbps so traffic is only for probing. Only for probing. That's the reason. So what you wanted to do is, so you wanted to go ahead and you wanted to enable this adaptive monitoring part. Okay. So this 1.5 Mbps, so which is for 100 sites. Okay, so this is 15 Mbps. So for 1,000 sites, it's going to use the 15 Mbps of the traffic. Right. So this is all about the SD-WAN policies. So any questions on this topic? So the SD-WAN policies.
Hello.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, Hari. So, if you are configuring SD-WAN policy and PBF and URL policies, which one will prefer first?
No, these two are totally different, right? Okay, so here, so the SD-WAN PBR is, you are manually selecting it. Okay, so you are selecting, so this manually. This will be preferred over the SD-WAN policies.
Okay.
Okay. Now the next one you're talking about URL policy.
Yes, URL filters.
URL filter is totally different. Okay, the SD-WAN policies is to select the WAN transport. So the PBR is to do the routing. Again, so what you can do is you can make use of any of the WAN transport selections. URL filtering is nothing but the traffic inspection. This is for the traffic inspection. Okay, certain categories, either you are interested to permit or drop it. How can you do it? With the help of URL filtering. Which WAN transports I have to use it? Okay, for SD-WAN traffic, I can use SD-WAN policies. So either it is a SD-WAN traffic or non-SD-WAN traffic. Okay, SD-WAN or non-SD-WAN traffic, you can make use of the PBR.
What is the use of PBF?
Okay, so the PBF is also referred as SD-WAN policies.
Okay.
Okay. So this is only for the SD-WAN traffic. How do you want to play around with the WAN transports? That is with the help of SD-WAN policies.
Okay.
So these three are totally different.
So if you configure SD-WAN policies and PBF, both if you configure means which one will prefer first? The traffic flow.
We consider over the SD-WAN policies.
Okay, PBF first.
Yes, but Alan, in production, what Versa will try to advise is, if you are interested to filter out the non-SD-WAN traffic, okay, you wanted to play around with the DIA, then most of the use cases go with a PBR or app PBR. Okay, whenever you are interested to go with the WAN transport selection between the branches, then you play with the SD-WAN policies.
Okay.
Hari,
yes,
in the query which I asked previously, this is actually in continuation to that. So I was just thinking of configuring a policy. See, I know certain applications for which I want to rate limit the traffic. I know that applications, I'll create an app PBR and I'll do that. Now I do not know any type of application that is going on to the local internet breakout. My device has that capability, has that intelligence, but I do not have that intelligence to create a policy. Can I do that like we do in ACLs? Like for 4 type of IP addresses, there is a permit and rest all is denied. So can I use that same logic that for these applications, rate limit this traffic to this, give them priority, and other than these applications, create a policy for any other type of traffic that is going out of local internet breakout and rate limit that traffic. Can I do that?
Okay, so I mean, you can achieve it on push. See, even in AppPass as well. Okay, for example, I have created rule 1, matching with my own applications. Whatever the applications I wanted to have it, I'll try to match with this application. I'll try to prioritize it. Okay, like ACL, same. Rule 2, I'll just match with IP addresses. I'm not worried about the applications at all. I'll just match with applications and I'll try to mention some bandwidth limitation. Here, if you don't want to match with application, you can still be configuring the same rule, but you don't match with any application.
Hmm.
Okay, so same like ACLs, so normal legacy routers, whatever firewalls you try to do it. So here as well. Okay. So if you try to provide the match conditions, so it is going to be the more granular. Okay, if not, ignore the applications part, ignore the URLs part. You can do it only with help of IP addresses.
Okay, okay. But in our local internet breakout cases, the IP addresses are dynamic, and those are DNS resolved. So how can I?
Of course, Ankush, that's what we are going with the NGFW capabilities, right? In the NGFW capabilities, we are not relying on the IP addresses. We are relying on the L7 information. Okay, so within this LAN segment, I'm receiving multiple L7 applications. Assume there are multiple from the same IP addresses, whichever may be the business critical apps, like let's say your Microsoft applications or G Suite applications, or the business critical applications in your network. Assume it. I'll try to select that application and I'll try to prioritize this traffic.
Correct.
What would the remaining applications? I'll just match with this IP address. I'll just mention if I want to allocate the bandwidth, I'll allocate it. If not, I'll just ignore it. What is going to happen? It falls under the default category.
Okay. So obviously, at the time of SD-WAN policies, I don't require NGFW in this.
Yes,
that is achievable from the SD-WAN policy.
Yes.
Yes.
You don't require NGFW. So NGFW policies you don't require it, but you require a capability of the box.
Okay. Got it. So in case I have a just for an example, if in case I have a user that is accessing YouTube, downloading a content, or maybe accessing any certain application and downloading a content, in that case, my ERP, I have given a preference to the ERP. ERP traffic comes, and that is actually wants a certain percentage of that particular bandwidth. So in that case, that the user who is accessing YouTube or accessing any other application, that will restrict to the delta traffic, right? Delta bandwidth.
Exactly.
Okay. I got it. Thank you so much.
Okay, so guys, let's take a short break. So we'll connect at 11:30 again.